Okay, so this one of these tutorials which should be easy, but eventually even here is a total madness. Eventually, like, there's so many interesting nuances, so it's make it so hard. But if you want to be a crazy super master, then this video for you. You can dive into crazy depths of perspective. Yeah. So there's a lot of, very basic videos about how to rotate stuff, how to, like, one perspective, 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, all this very basic stuff you can see everywhere. But here I will, at least in the two videos, I will give you very nuanced and in-depth explanation of how rotation works. So once you understand it, once you understand how it really works, you will do it confidently and you will know exactly what you do. Rotate the stuff in a, like, fisheye perspective, 5 point, 6 point perspective, whatever you want. Rotating people, rotating fingers, cars, helicopters, just rotate everything you want. So then here is like long line of explanation. Let's begin. So at first I need to talk about more basic principles here. So before we start talk about 3D, let's talk about rotation in 2D. So what is mean rotation, right? So it's like, let's say, like, we have like a stick, right? So, and I want to rotate the stick. So what will I do? I will have some kind of pivot around which I will make rotation. For example, let's say this one, red point, right? So then if I want to rotate it around this pivot, I need to choose angle. So if I make like all this full rotation here, this is a 180-degree angle, right? So like if I go here, this is 90-degree angle. If I go here, it's like 45, right? So I can choose degree on which, how much I want to rotate it. So let's say I will rotate it here to 45. So now it moves from this natural, like, initial angle, 0 angle. It rotates 45 angle degree, right? So, but then also, let's say if I put pivot in the center of the stick, so I will rotate it kind of around itself, right? So same, what will happen here? I will need to have this kind of scale for rotation, right? So how much it will rotate it? It's like 45, 90. Here it will be like 60, like 45, like 135, 135 or 180 if it's fully rotated. So again, let's make it 45. So it will change kind of to here, right? So now you see is like kind of what is elements involved in a process of rotation. These elements, it's line, pivot, and like a measurement system, like this angle measurement system. 3 elements. Let's write it down here. Line, pivot, and angle measurement. Measure system, let's see. Okay, so let's see here, last one. So if I put pivot on the left side here, so then I will rotate in opposite direction, kind of, right? So again, let's say 45 here, rotate it to 45 into opposite direction. So let's see this angle measurement system. No, it's like, where's this protractor? Always losing it. Anyway, can draw it. So we can draw it. It's very basic thing, and you will easily remember it forever. So let's say it's like circle, right? So you subdivide this circle into quarters. So you choose where will be 0 point. So let's say we already start this way. So let's say here will be 0. So, and then we go like each quarter, it's have a 90-degree angle, right? So from 0 to this quarter will be 90 angle, 90 degree. Then you plus 90 degree. Okay, so 2 quarters is 180 degree. Then again you plus to 180, you plus 90 will be 270. Double check. Yeah, 270. And if we make full circle, here will be 360. Right? 90 plus, yeah, 360. Like 0 and at the same time 360 if we make like full rotation, kind of, right? And there, for convenience, here is 2 ways how you can subdivide this full circle to make it very easy to draw freehand. Because like I'm making these videos to, first of all, for artists who draw freehand and yeah, like comic books or illustrations in the first of all. But then of course it will apply for many other artists. Just like it's a very big difference when you not use all these protractors and rulers and all these tools. You need to find a way how to make it feasible for drawing it with a free hand, and to be like convenient, eventually to be convenient and intuitive in the drawing process. So here let's take this circle, right? Like I already say, what we have these 4 points. They stand for this step of 90 degree. So here from 0 to 90, 180, 270, and 360 when it's go back. But then if we like using this square, you see we have corners, right? So if we draw these diagonal lines through center from corner to corner, we will get 45 degree. So this 45, like between 0 and 90. And then, again, like I say, for convenience, it's just not necessary to remember numbers for all these, like, subsequent angles. Actually, like, all you need to remember, it's this first quarter. Just remember first quarter of this we have here 0, 90, then 45. And then if we subdivide it in the middle one more time, so here will be like, you just like deduct from deduct it on half. So half from 45, it's 22 and half, right? So 22 and half. So here, and 45 plus 22 and half, it will be like 67 and 5, right? 67 and 5. So if you want to remember numbers, all numbers you need is just this one, this 4 numbers. Then here, so now we have these angles, like 90 angles, 45 angles. We just repeat in all these 4 quarters, right? Like this. So it's one way to subdivide it. But there is second way how you can subdivide this circle. It's if we draw like this, if we subdivide each quarter into other quarters, right? You see? So this subdivision gives us this point. So, and together with initial points like this 0, 90, 180, 270. So what we get this 30 and 60. So it's like division of a quarter into thirds, right? So this subdivides this 90 degree into thirds. So we have 30, 60, and 90 degrees. So if I draw here closer, this is how it works. So it's very convenient, because how you find this point is like when you have this subdivision. You see, I draw here this top left quarter. So it's here, top left quarter. So I subdivide it into quarters. And now we have this line, right? I need to subdivide it in half, and one more time in half. And this one in half, and one more time in half. So now this is our point. This is 30 degree, this is 60 degree. And this one 0, this is 90. So you see, it's a quarter of circle. This is how also artists draw circle in perspective. Like later I will show it to you. So you just draw this points in perspective, then you can draw full circle or ellipse in the perspective case. So 30, 60, 90 degree. So you see, yeah, measure system, and important again to remind that this pivot, right, it's here in the center. It's here. So you will use this a lot. You will use it every time there is any kind of rotation in your drawing. And you will use it even without drawing it. This is how it works. So it's kind of, it's like perspective grids and all this vanishing points and all those basic things. They always there, even if you draw them or you not draw them, you're aware of them or not. This is always present. It's just like underlying principles. So here, notice what is happening also. Trick with a rotation that is always happen on the surface. So it's something like, like our here, like galaxy is flat, right? Some kind of this. So it's like certain surface on which we have this rotation happen. It's not like kind of like just randomly like rotating like that. It will like each rotation happen on the surface. So this like here it's happen when is like just two-dimensional world, but we can put it into three-dimensional world. Same thing, but in 3D space. So at first, let's make it again also is like only talking with this, dealing with the surface. So you can be like horizon line, for example. Here let's do like vanishing point. So I have this kind of like a square surface in perspective, flat square, right? So I can find like a center of this flat square. Okay, so what we have now? Now we have this square with a subdivision into quarters, right? So actually, trick is here. I even don't need a circle. I don't need to draw ellipse every time. As you notice, right? Like it's can be related to just straight lines. So here I have already like 45 angle. Here I can just start this, make like a 0 angle, for example, right? So these are our initial for measurement here. So this one will be 180, this 90, and etc. So why we need ellipse? Why we need circle? Because circle help us to keep proportions while we rotate stuff. So we can like transfer, let's say, yeah, I have already here, for example. So if we have this line here, I can control like how it's, which length of this line will be with this angle, right? So because I have this curve line, which show me same length on any angle. So any angle will give me, show me like how it will look same length on any other angle. And when it's 2D, it's kind of obvious, right? You can just measure it with your fingers or whatever. But here is not obvious because we have this foreshortening, we have diminishing, right? So then it's like many way how you can deal with it, but let's say we can do it this way, like just subdivide it into other squares. You can do it like this. Right. So now we have quarter for each. And then, like I say, just here we can eyeball in it. Just draw like one fourth. Find this point by 1/4. So, and now same line, for example, let's rotate it from 0. We can rotate it to 45 if we want, or to this 30 here or 30 there. So let's do here 30. So this one, right? So 90 plus 60, it will be 150. So here we rotate it to 150 degree in perspective. So, and can repeat it in a different angle, so it will be more visible. Again, like I show you just like all the steps, which might save you when you stuck. So sometimes it's just like you feel something wrong, you don't know how to fix it. Then you need to know these foundations. But yeah, most of time when you're in a zone, you don't need to draw all these construction lines, So treat it properly. It doesn't mean like you need to repeat all the stuff every time, but it's advisable for some practice. It's just to discipline yourself, just to practice your perspective skills. So here you see what we have. We have again this 0. So here will be our line, here our pivot, and here this 150 angle. So connect from pivot to this 150 angle. So let's do like 2-point perspective case. So let's say I have here is the vanishing point, here X vanishing point. Let's do it bigger. Okay, here. here find this force 1/4. So here are 0, and here this 150 point. So you see from pivot, you draw to 150. So we have this rotation, like here. You see again what happened, like I don't draw in clock. I just like, I can erase this line. So it's a new position kind of. So this line was before here, but then we rotate it here, right? So let's do just 2 examples, like with this, like when pivot is in the center of line. It should be already obvious, but just for example. So when we have pivot in the center of line, it means we have ratio 1 to 1, right? So it means like through pivot, this line goes with the equal length. So it's like we have 1 and 1 here. So let's say let's use same horizon line. Just draw a random surface in a space. Так. So find center. So ideally it's kind of square, but because it's freehand drawing without using any precise measurement, is not actually perfect square. But it's another evidence how we can like kind of like work in a space when is not obvious. And you know, like if you break down any master artist, you will see how much mistakes there. So you will actually like understand, like you don't need perfect drawing. You just need like convincing drawing. It should look realistic. So there should be system. There should be a reason. Like you should really understand why you do it that way. How can you fix your errors? Like how you can fix mistakes. So this is what we're dealing with. Like I don't want to prove any, I don't want Nobel Prize for measuring stuff in perspective. I just want this efficient system to help me draw perspective. And this one is very efficient and don't make you don't need like PhD in mathematics to draw this stuff, So this whole point. And it takes some kind of effort and time to figure out how to make it like very mathematical and complex subject, how to make it feasible and practical and actually pretty comfy. It's very fun to draw. If it's not fun for you, it's just sign you draw not enough. Because this kind of stuff, it's fun, it's easy eventually when you understand how it works. Of course, when you don't know how it works, it's a struggle, it's a pain. But now it will be easy for you. So again, here's 0, 150. And let's do it like vertically. Let's just drop totally random angle. Let's say this in this angle, right? Так. So basically, yeah, we can also say it in a way is like what I'm doing. I'm making this angle measurement system in perspective. So, and this angle measurement, it's always flat. So this construction, which help you to measure angles, it's a flat thing. It exists on a flat surface. So here 158, 150. So also you can look at it. It's like your new application in your brain, and now you like Robocop or Terminator. You can just project it into everything in the space around you. So like me, I even make it for demonstration. I draw it into paper, right? So this is kind of same thing. You just can rotate it around. And the second video I will do after, I will show it how to use to draw figure, how to draw people in perspective, how to rotate them. Here, let's say, you see what I'm doing is like we have this thing and we rotate it according to the surface. So, and now also, if I put it, yes, to fat one, like a pencil, right? So I put it here and I rotate. So rotation of pencil happen into flat space. And now what we do, what we learn, what we practice is how to draw this thing in perspective, right? So now you see how this pencil will rotate on a flat surface, but in perspective. You see? So you can put it like in a 2-point perspective. So it's like rotate from here, like in this angle, just like whoa, like now you will see it in the nightmares. Put it in a fisheye perspective, whatever, right? And you can, like I show here, yeah, let's put pencil like in the center, right? So it's kind of rotate around itself like this, right? So it's always rotate on a flat surface. So first thing what you need to learn, what I show you, it's this measurement system. So draw it. You need to practice, need to be able to be very confident. It should be very easy, because if it's not easy, it will be pain in the ass. You know, like it will really like make you like it will be like a big problem for your every drawing. That's it, just this simple as that, right? So make sure you practice to draw this thing very comfortably in any angle. So let's just final demonstration here. Так, just random angle. And you see, like, I don't need horizon line and vanishing point. I can just draw it. I can make my own perspective grid. Watch my first video about how to make perspective grid. So now I just make sure it look properly, look like symmetrically subdivided. Так. So connecting these points. So before I planned to teach how to draw ellipse in perspective for this, but then I realize it's not important. It's not, you don't need actually to like focus on ellipse much here. It's just about this structure, this rotation structure, which is kind of elliptical, but it's not very properly drawn ellipse. It's not proper ellipse. It's a little distorted. It's a little skewed ellipse. Like here is not proper ellipse. It's just because, again, like I say, because when you draw freehand, you always make minor mistakes in drawing in perspective, some very complex perspective. These minor mistakes, they can be like crucial when you want to be like super precise. So when you try to match like precisely perfect ellipse with your freehand drawn square in perspective, it's never match. It's just so freaking hard to draw proper ellipse with a proper square in perspective. So you kind of actually, you will always fake it if you don't use tools. Like Scott Robertson, he used this ellipse preset, right? So when he so he used ellipse preset to make sure he draw like proper square in perspective. So let's say if we compare it here, so you see it's not very proper. My ellipse is a little drunk. My ellipse little distorted. So just keep it in mind, right? It's a good news. You don't need to struggle with ellipses to make sure you draw proper ellipse. Just use this subdivision system. So this subdivision with its points already give you subdivision into 30 degree, but also you can use this square. You can use this square diagonal lines for 45 degree, and if you subdivide it here in half, so it will be 22 and a half subdivision. Also, like about like it will lack with accuracy. It's some kind of mistakes there, but they're so minor, and people eye will never track it. So it's this kind of a way for us artists to to deal with such kind of complex things without make it like total draftsmanship when we just sit and drawing with a ruler, make it super lame, super duper lame, you know. We want to rock and roll, right? We want just make it cool. So we don't want it boring draftsmanship. Так, so here 150. And yeah, and I can make it like if it was rotated in the center, so this 1 to 1. So what is happen? It's just will be like this, right? So it will be just go from here to here through pivot point. Let's go. So here this point of 30 degree goes to this point of 30 degree. Same here. Let's just do like this, or here. Yeah. So later I will show how it all works. Так. So let's 1 second break and go to next step.
Madness. This is Gene Bond art.
So now you master it perfectly. Now you know how this thing works. And we go to crazy level number 2. So let's say we have this surface in perspective, in whatever perspective you want. See, it's like our table game for artists, like people playing mobile games. We artists, we just sit and draw this stuff in perspective for fun. It's just like, yeah, connecting points, parallel lines. Yeah, so fun. No. So you look in the metro, in the train, everybody watch phone, but there you can see immediately artist. He drew in perspective grids and ellipses in perspective. So let's say, oh, I'm here, have this pivot point, right? I have this like my initial 0 angle for this line, right? And let's say I want to rotate it to 60 angle here, right? Okay, so it's here now. But now, because, I remember there is also 3D space. Let's include third space now. And yeah, this will be already like advanced perspective immediately. But let's see, what is mean third space here? It's like this line, it's our z-axis, right? This line, it's our x-axis. So this is two axes. Each line, when it have convergence, like here, this z axis, this line and this line, they converge. They converge towards the vanishing point somewhere outside of paper. Like I don't know exactly where, but this convergence kind of it's pointing towards this the vanishing point. So after some practice, like I say, like you playing this fun game of drawing perspective grids, you will just feel it, you know. It's kind of like somebody showing you like direction. You know where he's showing it. You don't need to like know exact coordinates, right? It's just give you direction and it's pretty clear. So the vanishing point somewhere there. Same with x. So we have two x-axes and the convergence show us like x vanishing point somewhere there, right? So it's like somewhere there outside of paper. But for 3D we need third dimension, we need third axis, and this third axis is stands for vertical lines in this case, right? So like if we have cube or box, yeah, box have this z, x lines, and also it have vertical lines. So in this vertical, usually it's a y-axis, third dimension, right? So here is not present yet. So now I need to establish it. And it can be like tilted, and it depends on a scenario. So here I can decide like it will be like with little tilt, or it's just perfectly parallel to paper, kind of, you know, like a vertical line, like a vertical, like a side of my picture, side of a paper. So let's make it just vertical for this first example. So here will be our third dimension, y-axis. And let's be this like 2-point perspective scenario when y-axis don't converge. So we don't have y vanishing point. We only have like every vertical lines, they are parallel to each other without converging, right? So anytime if I draw any vertical line, it will be parallel, it will be just vertical. So, and what I want now to do, now I want this line to be not only rotated to 60 degree in this on this surface, right? I also want it to be kind of like moving up. So it's rotated here and moved up. You see? So, and to doing that, I need to again to build this measure system. And here you remember what I was talking about. We have this quarter of this system. We don't need all system, not every time. In this case, I will use only quarter. So we have this pivot point, right? We have this 60 degree point. It's 60 degree for this surface, but for my surface it will be 0 degree. It will be initial point, this one. So now I build this square in perspective here. So this kind of quarter of measurement system. So I have here will be my new 0 point, a new 90 degree point. Here it's my 45 diagonal, right? So I can subdivide it into quarter, find again this 30-degree points about here. Dun, dun, dun. Make this curve like a quarter circle curve. And now I think like, okay, how much it's vertically rotated. Let's make it 45, right, for some difference. So here we have this diagonal. And like I said before, this diagonal is 445 angle. So this R line, it's both. Now it's rotated twice simultaneously. It's rotated to 60-degree on this surface and also into a vertical dimension in y-axis. It's rotated to 45-degree. So now you see, like, if I cover it, right? Like I cover it, like it looks like it's 90-degree. If we don't know there is a third dimension, if we're not aware it's a third dimension, if we still look at it like 2 dimensions, it looks like this line is in a 90-degree. It's just like an unproportionately long, right? So you see it's like, oh, it should be here, but it's longer. So, and this, all this kind of tiny nuances make everybody confused when they have lack of practice and not clear idea, like clear like implementation of all these principles. So you just need to practice for a couple times so you have exact idea every time, like on which surface been rotation. So it will not look for you odd and out of space. It will make sense. So let's also, here I have this example, right? So again, what is here? I have this flat surface and I have quarter, right? I have this quarter, right? So what I did here, I put this quarter to 60-degree. So this how it look. See, 60-degree. Okay, so this structure for this thing. So we did 45 rotation. Let's take this like my eraser piece to show. So here so this it's position, like final position. Maybe, yeah, I have it short here. Second, for accuracy, for science, let's make it properly. Okay, like this. Okay, so here that's the final position of this line, right? Here. So this is what you witness here. Behold, line which is rotated into 3D space, into two surfaces, into like simultaneously two rotations. So, and again, just place it in your head, place it in your mind, this principle, so how this thing, you just draw it from any other angle. So let's just draw same case from any different angle. So let's say in this I just like take this random improvisation construction for you as example of how this thing works. And this is the most simplistic example. So it's kind of paradox here. It's like you will no need to draw all the structure line every time. Like if you want to draw like a Daniel Warren Johnson, for example, just like wow, rock and roll, just drawing crazy stuff, right? No, so yeah, of course you will no need to draw all these things, but in same time, all these principles will be in your mind. So it's kind of like it's became your computer. Now it's new program in your computer. So it works without you being aware of it. Like I say, is art drawing is like sport. So if you go to martial arts, like go to boxing, for example, you'll see what a coach do. He um, train your reflexes, train your how's the word? Like a balance, coordination, because there is like a seemingly simple moves, which in reality it's have a lot of like subtle minor movements, which you need to just practice. And more you elaborate them, more efficient and precise you will be. Так, so let's here, let's say, okay, this will be 0. So initial position it's here. So then here it's our first rotation 60-degree here, right? Then I make like this third dimension and this third dimension. I say here's my curve. And I don't need curve, I need 45. I need curve to have proportion. That's it. So we have this now new position here. So here pivot. Okay. 45. Let's make it 2-point perspective. So in 2-point perspective, again, remind you to double kind of, you need this remind, I promise you. It's like one point is z and second point is x. It's not same axis, it's z and x. Так, so and then let's see. Okay, so it's like very extreme and distorted perspective here. So now you already can imagine what will be your homework for this tutorial. Yeah, guess I will tell you in the end. Так, so here I have this quarters. And here we have this like So we can say this is a circle in extreme perspective. So it's like you see this, you learning right now so many stuff simultaneously. It's like killing birds, like fake birds, not real. They're not actually alive. Talking for YouTube. You learn many subjects right now. So here again, 0 point. It's here. I rotate it to this one. It's 60 degree here. 60 point. Then I create third dimension. So here is my 45. I can draw this curve here. So this is double rotation for line. So you see, we're just talking about one line. It's not box yet. Так, so, okay, let's do, yeah, let's do it just to demonstrate, you know, how dynamic it is. Maybe I just like this. So So just do repeat all the steps again and again, again and again, you know, like little different scenario, like different rotation, different kind of perspective, 2 point. You can do it in a 3 point, 5 point perspective. Maybe I will do it later to demonstrate it. So, and you see, I repeat same steps again and again, again and again. So it's not a joke. It's not random, you know. This is what you should do too. So, like during this tutorial, just during this tutorial, I draw more than my students draw in a week, you know. And I just like, guys, why you draw so little? Just how many times need to say you need to draw more, you know? Just, and you need to draw these steps, kind of repeat these steps as your routine. It's your routine. It's like a rope jumping or a morning jogging. It's something you need to repeat like 100 times. Like once you already understand, yeah, you like you feel very smart. You smart, no problem. Yes, you understand it very fast. And now you need to do it 100 times, at least, minimum. This is how it works. Так. So all the steps I show you in the beginning, I doing it again and again, again and again. And yeah, don't think it's like mundane something. Treat it like it's like a puzzle or like a mobile game, right? Like people killing time playing this like mindless games. For us, we have this funny routine, connecting points, drawing curves. in perspective, right? So treat it like this game. So here, pivot 0 point, initial 0 point. So here's this our line, dun 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 dun, 60 degree. Then select, oh, where is third dimension? Like if looking to this ellipse, like minor axis for this ellipse is here. So this is my y axis about here. Yeah. So let's draw it like this. Ellipse. And again, I can draw like this, just half, 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 half. So we have these points. So I can draw proper ellipse. Pivot point and a 14.5 degree position of a line. So it's 60 and 45. Same here. 0. Pivot point 60 degree. If looking to this ellipse, minor axis, it's here. So this minor axis of an ellipse showing me this third dimension. So, and because this is like a vertical position square here, vertical position surface, so this is most likely will be not y, but kind of z or x axis. But anyway, just third dimension, third axis. We already have this one, and we have this one, and now it's third dimension. So it going through this point here, then we draw parallel. Then we draw in like a square and subdivide it. Four, then half, 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 half. We have 1 point, second point. Okay, here's 45. So this is 45 position. Like this. Hello, Tipman. So yeah, ooh, oops. So here you see now first principle. Every rotation is happen on a surface, on a flat surface. Rotation is about building measure system into this flat surface. Like full measure system, it's like 4 quarters, full circle. But sometimes it's enough to use like even 1/4 of circle. You can use like 2/4, depend on how much angle you need. So in this rotation happen around pivot points, right? So then I talk about it's not always only one rotation. Sometimes it's simultaneous 2 rotations. So when it's rotated in one and also in the second surface. So in the next video and next tutorial, I will talking about this because it's like it's a very kind of usual case for when we draw in people that we have like rotation in both directions. It's not only one, it's in 2 planes. So this what is mean 3D rotation. Cool. Hello, Charlene. Так. Here, maybe I see, maybe I little jumped with this to explain how third dimension works too. And anyway, because it's all require a lot of, subtle nuances. So anyway, I can talk it about now. When I will start to talk how to rotate not just line, but box. How to rotate box and perspective. It's crazy, right? How to rotate box. Because now it's not one line. For a box, it's crazy amount of lines. How to manage that? Hey. So in here, let's back to circle and square. So if we draw this square in perspective, right? So, and we have this circle within square, right? So third dimension, it's very easy to remember as this third dimension will be like an axle for this circle, right? So if like this is a wheel and this is like axle for a wheel. So it's perpendicular, third dimension perpendicular to this surface. So if we look from side, it's like this, right? So it have 90-degree to this surface. So 2 dimensions. It's z and x, and a third dimension it's y. So this y axis, this third axis, it's both have this 90-degree to z and 90-degree to x axis. So we can say is like z and x, they're lying on one surface, right? See, like according to y-axis, z and x, they're lying within one surface. See, they're like flat. So no matter like how you place them, you can like z here, x here. They have between each other 90-degree angle, and they are within one surface. So when we add third dimension, this y-axis, it has this 90-degree relationship to whole surface, to this whole surface on which lies this two axes, z and x. Okay, so as a one of example of it, it's like this surface is like wheel, And third dimension, it's like axle of a wheel. So it will go here, axle go perpendicularly there. If this wheel go here, this axle go perpendicularly according to this wheel. Okay, so only trick is like it's not always y-axis. It's just like third dimension. It's third dimension, so it's mean like two dimensions. They're within this surface, within this wheel, and the third is perpendicular to this wheel. So this wheel can be, let's say, no, let's say this axis can be z axis, third dimension, and the wheel will be like this. So for this wheel, x go like that, and y go like that. If we have x-axis as a third dimension, then this wheel will be like this, and y and now z, so y and z, they're together on the same surface. So in this kind of correlation here, it's two axes, they're also always lying within one surface, and the third is kind of being opposing, perpendicular to the surface. And talking about ellipse, so ellipse, yeah, just like trying to make it not too long. Ellipse, it's a skewed circle, right? So like if we have circle in a square when it's in a 2D space, 2D, so it's z and x. So this circle look like that, like a perfect circle, right? Like this Japanese ceramic. But when we start to rotate it, it's not like equal anymore. It's not so symmetrical. Now we have like, it's getting shorter on one side, right? So it became like a flat. If I rotate this way, it will be shorter on this direction. So if I rotate this circle this way, so our, let's say, square will be in perspective. Like this. If I rotate this way, it will be like this. So, and here, so this shorter line goes through center of a ellipse, certain center of a circle is called minor axis. Minor axis. And long line, it's called major axis. Right? It's a major axis. So major axis longer than my minor axis. And what is important to remember here in the case of ellipses, that minor axis, it's always represent kind of this certain dimension. So here, let's say, when this x-axis goes through ellipse, it will be minor axis. When this z-axis goes through ellipse, it will be minor axis. So when we know third dimension, we know that ellipse should be in this relationship. It should be 90 degree. So now I add major axis, and this is my ellipse. So third dimension, it's here. So let's be z. So if it go here, then I need to find major axis, which will be perpendicular to this one. And I get ellipse with this z-axis. If it's y-axis, then ellipse will have this y-axis, minor axis here. So here, let's say square x in z, and y, it goes like a minor axis of an ellipse. Same here, it's like this one, it's z axis. So this one will be like x and y. So x and y on the one surface together with the ellipse. And z, third dimension, it's a minor axis of this ellipse. So this how you can use this ellipse to find third dimension. It's just by looking where is the minor axis on this ellipse. So again, let's say this here, and this here. So if we go back to this one, so you see, it's like here, I say this is like minor axis of ellipse. Is not correct, but you see, until I mention it, nobody noticed it. That's why also I say sometimes you just kind of choosing it yourself. But as a tool, you always have this option when, if like I say, if I draw it again, and I have this ellipse, right? So I make this major. No, it's because I draw ellipse wrong again. Christ. So it should be like this. So minor axis will go this way. So I can use ellipse to find third dimension, but not necessary. It will also, both way will works, and it's kind of like you can consider it. So here, like we have this ellipse, this you see, it's like minor axis. This one like minor axis. This one like minor axis. It's not perfectly performed. So I have ellipse subdivided in a half here, and I have third dimension. Like this. Так. And one more, also kind of like we see all this for illustration of how these dimensions and surfaces work, how they relate to each other in a space. It's an example of this three dimensions. It's a box, right? So let's say we have cube, and each side of cube it's a square, right? So I can draw ellipse in each side of a cube. So, and here you see like in a cube, like I already say, here we have this, it's a z dimension, z axis going to z. This x axis going to x. And then minor axis, like when I want to draw ellipse here, minor axis for this ellipse, it will be this h of a cube, which is y dimension. So this direction it will be a line for my ellipse here. So let's use green. Here minor axis. Same for this ellipse on this side. We have y, y, y. We have x, x, x. And the minor axis will be z, z. So if I want a proper ellipse, it should be like equally divided by z axis here. Так, right. Так. And same here, like we have y and z for this side, and x will be minor axis for ellipse on this side of a cube. So this is like in the first chapter of Scott Robertson book, How to Draw. There is a lot of video about how to draw ellipses and stuff. So here I just like mention it again. You will forget it again and you will relearn it again. But it's kind of essential. At least you need to understand and make sure you understand every part of it. If you don't understand it all, maybe I don't mention some nuance, go and research more about ellipses, how do they work in a space. Yeah, I just need to mention it. So we can go to next is how to draw, how to rotate box and perspective. And yeah, first this rotate box in perspective. Here is two moments. There is certain techniques which is also simplification like I did this, it's a simplification. You see, like I already show, is not proper ellipse in perspective. It's simplification of drawing ellipse in perspective, which is very convincing. And same here is a simplification of drawing cubes in rotating them in perspective. With a system, it's called, like it's very famous by cranes cubes. I find I already have pre-drawn them. So cranes cubes. So cranes cubes, it's cubes, which is like a chart of cubes, how they rotated relative to observer, related to viewer. So imagine here, let's say, we have side view. So we have like a camera. And then here we have cube, like initial, like a 0 angle. And then I start to rotate it like, rotate is like 22 degree, like that, according to camera, right? So now it's not 0, now it's rotated about 22 angle. Or I can rotate it like 67 degree. So now it's like rotated 67 according to camera, right? So we're talking about according to camera. If before I was talking about it's rotated like according to itself, so it's like within imaginable space. So we have imaginable space, we have line, and this line rotated according to itself. So it was here, and now it's rotated somewhere there. But there is also thing is like how this line can be rotated according of camera, like now, right? So here it's like a 0 angle, and now it's like rotating. It's like 90 angle, 90 degree angle. So this is one of very interesting moment here. And there is techniques how to calculate this rotation. There is like a lot of stuff, like when you need to use special tools like protractors. All this stuff is like very boring. It's for architects and the engineers. For us as artists, it's like very convenient thing is with these cubes from crayons, when we can see. So here, when the cube is rotated into 45 degree, it will look like this. So it's like have a ratio of 2:2. So it's like we see it's equal, two sides of a cube we see equally distorted. When it's like here, it's 22 and a half. It look like this. So I can draw you some stuff, like look again like some kind of sacred geometry. It looks fancy. So, and I will use my Japanese ceramic dish for this. And listen epic music for this. So here, this one is our notorious 5-point perspective grid, right? So what is important here? Like, okay, let's repeat. This is z vanishing point, this x and x, and this y and y. So here, this in the middle, it's 45 angle points. 45. So if like in the horizontal and here in the vertical rotation, 45 degree. For other type of rotation, here is this 45. It's like if we see we're doing this like diagonal line here through the vanishing point. So what we see when we like how to explain Kranz cubes in perspective. So what we're actually looking at, right? So when is a cube without rotation, it's just like this. So it's going from x to x here, from y to y here. But when is rotated like 45 degree, then instead of this x, we will have this vanishing point. And it all goes kind of like this. So it's for one side. It's like 45 x vanishing point, and this one will be 45 z vanishing point for this one, right? So now here we have like this 2:2 ratio 45. When we start to rotate this cube also vertically, so then here we have it like if we rotate it like 45 vertically, then we go here. So we get this shape of a cube when it's like three equal rhombs. So we have like three same size rhombs like here. So it is like both vertically and horizontally rotated. Yeah, and there then is intermediate, kind of let's say here in the middle. So it's this one like 3:1. So it's rotated to, like if we have this back to our scale, it's rotated like about 22.5 downwards. like this. Okay, so we see it with this ratio 1 to 3. And then if we go like 60, it this paper too soft, need to push. We have like this kind of this ratio. So it's like 67.5 and 45 degree. And same like if we rotate it vertically here, it will be same opposite. But if we, without rotating it horizontally, let's use blue for these boxes. So let's say it will be 45, like this one. So if like this without horizontal rotation, only with vertical rotation. Like this. So it's talking about rotation to viewer. So if you don't know about these kind of boxes, it's very simple. You just need to practice to draw this chart. So, and I explain it in my video tutorial about how to draw perspective for beginners, part 1, how to draw these grand boxes. So just go there if you never drew them before, or just copy from here if you don't have time to watch that video. And then like how to rotate boxes in general, it's again we need to back to two-dimensional idea. So let's say this is our rotation measurement system. So what is a box? Box is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6. Let's forget how many. Like it's a squares. Like how many squares we have for box? 2 square, 3, 4, 6 squares. Box it's a 6 squares, 6 flat surfaces. Right. So no, if it's cube, it's a 6 squares. If it's a random box, then it's like 6 flat rectangles. Right. So we have 6 flat rectangles. And so here, like when we was talking about drawing line, it was kind of very easy because we need only rotating line, right? We just need to rotate one line. But with boxes, as is in a cube, we're talking about not one line but one axis. So now we will rotate one axis, which is exist like for kind of how to say it. It's presented 4 times in the box. So one axis in the box, it's a 4 lines. It's a 4 parallel lines. So we have like 4 z axis, we have 4 y axis. It's one axis, but it's 4 times repeated, and we have x axis 4 times, each axis 4 times. So now when I rotate a line from this position, let's say to this position, right? I'm rotating, let's say, box, right? So I need to rotate now not just one line, but one axis, which is 3 other lines. Like in a 2D space is just one more line with 2 parallel lines. Yeah, it's so annoying screaming. Okay, I'm back. So, let's break here.
Madness. This is Chain Bond Art.
Okay, so yeah, so box in 3D, it's a 3 axis. Each axis repeat 4 times, right? So one axis is 4 lines. One axis is 4 lines. But if we look in a 2D, so it will be 2 set of lines. So it will be like 2 lines for z-axis, for example, and 2 lines for x-axis, right? So if it's a square or if it's a right angle, so we have 2 lines for z-axis and we have 2 lines for x-axis. When I rotate one line from one axis, I need to draw parallel other line parallel to it, right? So in a box, in a cube, these same axis lines, they're parallel to each other. Yes, so say again here, if I rotate this line, let's say it's like x from this square. Now I want to rotate this x line 245. So here will be 45 plus 90, 135 angle, right? So I rotate like one line, but then I need to draw second line parallel to it, right? And then other axis is perpendicular to them, like this 90 degree. Okay, you see what I mean, kind of like we have this like new level of complexity because we need to think about parallel lines and these perpendicular lines which follow this. So first of all, of course, you just need to be aware of idea of parallel and perpendicular. So this is easy. If you don't understand that, then of course perspective will never be possible for you. But definitely you understand this. So, and now what we have is that in perspective, these parallel lines, often they are not just visibly parallel. Often we see them as convergent because they are like diminishing, like convergent towards vanishing point, right? So let's say now, that's like we did before, draw this measure system and draw rotating right angle in this measurement system. Так. So let's say this one, initial position. So what you need to notice here, it's so in the initial position, when this x-axis is lying on this zero angle, so these both lines are kind of parallel each other to this zero line direction, right? So here it will be this line. So when I draw second side of this right angle, it's not just parallel to this line. It's a line with this perspective grid. I need to follow how this line being axis. Now it's axis is like part of this perspective grid, right? So when I find the second line, it's within this perspective. It's parallel within perspective convergence. So one thing. Then this one, notice how these lines of z-axis for this box, this square rectangle, it's a line with these lines on this square. You see? So this line of this square rectangle aligned here and aligned with this center line, right? Okay, so now when I rotate this to 45 degree, so I already have this angle here, right? So I make this, so this line of a right angle go like this, travels along this curve go to here. Okay, this line, we find it. Так, this will be blue. It's here, twin. So now, how about how to find other lines? And we can go back to here. So, because we remember it's a 90-degree relationship between this side and this side. So same will be here, right? So when we have this direction here, so this side of this rectangle will have 90-degree relationship. So it's very kind of should be already obvious in this moment. If this line is 45 here, then this one is also 45, but in this direction. You see? So what I need to find is like, okay, where is this? 45 is here. 45. So this will be my green. And yeah, like here, how to do about a length. To find this length, I just, to be like super proper, right? I just need to create its own rotation system for only this part. So, because then I will have this curve, right? So if I get this, so I draw this like a square, then I draw this curve. So now I transition. Now I can see like how this length moves along in a space, rotates here, and I intercept it into this 45. So it will be like this. So we already find two lines from these four lines of a right angle. And here depends on the type of perspective you work with, and depends on your kind of preference in each case. So what I can do here, because I don't have horizon line and I don't have vanishing point, I can just like eyeballing, like we have this line here, right? And I eyeballing how will be convergence, like very slight convergence. Same with this line. We have this direction, and I just will eyeballing like how much convergence I will have. So for these parallel lines. So kind of this. So then we find it rotated in space. Let's do same but with a horizon line. Let's do it like z x. So be assured, like I was in my beginning of drawing this stuff in perspective, it was crazy hard. It was super hard. I've been super confused with all this stuff. And there is nothing extraordinary to get through this. You just should be aware of it and keep going. Don't be too soft on yourself. and kind of like, oh, if it's not easy, then I'm not talented. No, it's never easy for anyone. It's like everybody gets through this. So let's say, let's again, so this was initial position. So here we have initial position for this rectangle. And now, so I rotated to 45. And here you see we already have this 45. So already like I very quickly can find these two lines and let's show again for this one, right? Like how to find this properly. I can eyeball it or I can create this like measurement system. So I draw into like curve line. So then I know, here how it will be proportion in this rotation. So now again I find these two lines, but because we have horizon line for this surface, because it's a mutual surface, right? So now I can find vanishing point. So in this case it's much easier. So now I have this vanishing point for this rotation. So for this angle, for this I will need to build like perspective grid because like it's not exactly parallel to horizon line, but it's close. So anyway, you can just draw like a grid for this angle, but for this one, it's just vanishing point. So from this point, and draw it towards vanishing point. From this point, I have perspective grid. So it's done. That's it. So we rotated it in perspective. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this because this principle, it's like very essential. It's foundations about how to rotate in perspective. You use ellipse. Only me, what I'm doing here, I also like break it down in a more and more kind of nuanced elements because like for me when I was reading Scott Robertson book it was like more brief explanation so and afterwards like in the next video part 2 you will see why I take so long time to explain all this talk. So and again let's just draw it into other angle. Let's see which angle to do. Let's do just absolutely random. You mean interesting? This Brewer method. It's a name of this rotation technique. I will Google it. Anyway, so here, let's say this rectangle. Then I rotate it to 45 here. And 45 for this one. And you see again, maybe from this angle will be better see. So I draw square for only just for this side of right angle. I draw square so we can have this quarter of circle to transfer this proportion of this line into this perspective. Okay. So, and again, so we have, I don't know where is horizon line for this surface, for this square in perspective, but we have this line and I can kind of just eyeballing convergence for it, same with this line, and I can just ball in. Let's see. Just make it like look proper enough. And that's it. Так. So, you see again, so back to this stuff, we have this measurement system, and now we can, like, we need to consider not only one line, but this set or two set of lines, X and Z. So again, some example. This was 45, but let's do like 22 and a half rotation. So we have this one will be like 22 and 5. I mean, I also like what I say all the time. Like most of people who find in these tutorials on YouTube, they never finish Scott Robertson book or never properly practice it. And if you will practice it properly, you don't need to watch so much videos on YouTube. Kind of tell it many times already. Так, so and here, let's say we have, so initially box was here, but people just made this way. They find answer and they find the recommendation when Scott Robertson tells them like go and practice. But instead of practice, everybody go and look for more videos. When people explain same stuff, they already have in a Scott Robertson book. So you see what I'm doing here. So I rotated to this like 67 and 5 degree. So now this x-axis, it's 67 and 5, but because we have 90-degree angle here, right, with this 90-degree between this x and z, second side will go to this like a, you see, is like a second quarter with the other 67 and 5, because we like also have So like here we have like 22 and a half, 22 and a half, 22 and a half, 3 times. Same on this side will be like 22 and a half, 22 and a half, 22 and a half. So it goes from this previous position, make 3 steps, 3 step, 22 and a half. And it will arrive in kind of like quote unquote 67 and 5, like make same rotation, right? So when we'll draw in perspective, I will just have these constructive points. That's why it's super convenient. So here this line goes, here this line goes. So again, if we draw this new one in perspective, this joke look like a prompt. Are we already robots? It's like maybe AI will like became aware, and it will like totally understand like whole our hardware, like how we function, whole our psyche, to hack us, and eventually we will become like robots for AI. So AI will just write prompts for humans. We're like, oh, interesting article here. You read this article, but this is just a prompt from AI to make you behave in a certain way. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Look, at least it's interesting. Like all this fear, which is like feels so based on reality. I mean, like it's really very much legit from my point of view. But it's perfect perspective. We can see how Luddites feel when it was like first factories with this like factory machines. And actually, maybe they was right too. Never fact check kind of their what they was worried about. Maybe actually everything they was afraid is actually happen. Need to double check. Yeah, bots now like so efficient that we forget they exist. Так. So we even like seen like a bots as a like a leaders of a country when they're like even don't look like humans. Mm, can't like say a word. Так, okay. So I rotate to this 67 and 5. And so you see for this one here. But yeah. Так, so and this green, it goes here for this 67, right? Okay. Only again, oops, I almost forget this one. It's have its own length, right? So I need to draw its own half of a circle. Okay, so now I see, so this should be end of this line. And now again, so we have this line, then here I try to just eyeball, just make it proper right angle. That's it. So you see, it can be a lot of tricks for how, like, there is a lot of like methods, techniques, how to properly calculate all this stuff. But I want it to be kind of balanced, so it's not too much as an architectural draft. It have a system. It have this very precise kind of measurement approach, but without losing this freehand ability to draw it by freehand. Take so, and you see, we draw only like half of a box. So now we need to add third dimension to this and we will have box. That's it. So just by adding third dimension, like here, I already like this one is very convenient to show this third dimension. So remember we have ellipse, right? This ellipse have minor axis. So this also our rotation axle, kind of rotation pivot, right? It will be also this part of third dimension, third axis. Yeah. So we have this go here, and then we just draw in parallel. And depending on the type of perspective, like this third axis, this third dimension, will have vanishing point or not. If it's no vanishing point, then we just draw in them all parallel. You see, just draw them all parallel. So let's say, let's draw like this. And then when I decide to stop, let's say I want to stop here, again, using same approach. So I have already, like here, I have already established kind of two, like bunch of lines, parallel lines in perspective. And now I can just kind of continue their type of diminution, right? And then, so I will get the rest of this box. Same here, I already established it. So this is my perspective grid for this box. And I can just continue kind of same type of perspective, you see? So it will be like this. So here is this box. And if I want, can show you this box here. Same. Let's say here we have this ellipse. Now I need to think like, okay, where is this third axis, third dimension? And it's also, like I say, this pivot will become like rotation axle. go into third dimension, right? So, and then now I think like, okay, how this will behave. Like here I will do like little convergence. Let's do like this. And here I will do one more page explaining this nuance. Very interesting. So that rotating in perspective, right? Rotating in perspective, rotating 3D object in perspective, aka rotating box in perspective. It's already mean that you're rotating perspective grids. So, and this I will tell on the next page. Так. Now let's do, okay, this one. So here. Let's do this y-axis here. Right, so it will be just go in this direction. So it look like a train in perspective. And here we have vanishing points. Yeah, so it's very convenient. Так. Z. Okay.
What do you do?
I say what I mean, and I do what I say.
So I always tell it, and I will tell it again. Cube or any box, right? It's just a manifestation of 3 dimensions. So it's y, z, and x axis multiplied. So when you rotate box, it's like you rotating whole perspective grid. So now we have like this axis now have different orientation. So you see, like if I put it in a frame, so like, okay, so this is my perspective grid. Y go like this, Z go like this, and X go like this. And same for this one. If I put it in a frame, this is my picture, Y here go like this, X go like this, Z go like this, right? You see what I mean? So I can start from grid, or I can start from box. And also like look, if I have, let's say like box with some kind of this like foreshortening, right? So it's also kind of establishing this kind of perspective. So I can say, if I put again, let's put it in a frame. So following y-axis. this kind of y-axis, then this one let's be x-axis, and this one z-axis. Okay, so and I can draw any other box now within this grid. So every perspective grid you can like place box on it, or you can any box extend into perspective grid, like expand it, like explode. Now it's perspective grid. Same like I have this so okay, like see this logic again, like see what I'm going to box, right? So 3 dimensions, this xyz, right? Z y x box, it is perspective grid, right? And perspective grids, you go to watch my first video, like perspective for beginners part 1. I was talking about like different way how to draw perspective grid, because there can be horizon lines, there can be vanishing points, and there sometimes you don't have vanishing points, right? So you have your picture, like your piece of paper, or like a frame into a comic book, and you just need to establish 3D space. Perspective grid, it's a space. It's a 3-dimensional space. So now you need to establish it. And how you do? You establishing 3 dimensions, right? So you say like, okay, what will happen with my y-axis? Will it converge or not? Will it have vanishing point or not? Like it can have like vanishing point within picture plane, then it will mean it will have like horizon line, right? Or I will have horizon line without vanishing points. Like let's say I can establish like tilted horizon line, and I say it's like so y-axis is go like this, and the y-axis vertical lines will not have vanishing point and will not converge, so it will be just parallel lines. And x and z, they have vanishing points but outside of picture plane. So what I do in these cases, I just need to establish a level of um, convergence, right? So, and I do this just by dropping one line. So I say myself, okay, now I establish x axis. So I say, okay, here is horizon line, and here will be my x-axis. So now I have everything I need for x-axis, because I just need to subdivide it. I need to subdivide it in between. I can subdivide it as much as I need, and then I just drop it above horizon line, and I can extend it here. And then I say, okay, now I want to establish z-axis. Let's do it other color. So same for z-axis, I have horizon line already, and I say z-axis will be this level of convergence. So now again I have 2 lines, this and horizon line. So I just subdivide it, and then I can subdivide it and continue, kind of extend it, right? So that's it. This is 3D space. And it's kind of this simple trick which I kind of like Don't know. It seems like I'm the first who tell about this on YouTube. At least maybe somebody, of course, find it before me. Like I don't think it's so impossible to find. But the trick is like you establish perspective grid just by making two converge lines. Say it's X, and you say this is Z. That's it. So this is now your perspective grid. I never hear it and see it before. I just figure it out myself. Like again, like I say, thinking about how to make it more convenient for freehand drawing without using any rulers and stuff. So, and now we're going back, right? So I say like, hey, you just drop convergent lines, you drop convergent lines, you drop convergent lines. And this is your perspective grid. So now it's your box in perspective, right? Now we're going back into this chain perspective grid. It's a box. So this is what I say, like when we rotate in box, we rotate in perspective grid. That's why I say you practice to eyeballing this perspective, because like when you have two lines, now you can just turn it into perspective grid. You have these two lines. Okay, now this is your perspective grid. You have this lines. No, this is so you just don't need to draw all these lines. But once you have two lines on your paper, you can build perspective grid anytime you want, anytime you need. So that's why also like say this. Now I can build like third dimension this y-axis, right? It's just y-axis lines. They can converge like this, like it will be like 3-point perspective downwards, or they can be just parallel. But now I have all perspective grids, all perspective lines I ever need. So I have, you see all these lines, right? So then I just find like, say, okay, it's here. And I have all these perspective lines and I say, okay, it's here, right? So if for this one, yeah, I just drop more lines for this. And now I can say my box, it's here. You see what I mean? So as a solution for us, how to draw, how to figure out, how to eyeball this rotated dimensions, rotated boxes. You establish perspective grid. You kind of look at this as a perspective grid. So let's draw again. So let's say, again, I will show small 2D version. So it will be clearer. And then I draw it into 3D. Так. Yeah, so this also been like Kranz again inspire me a lot here. I learned some tricks from Kranz, and I will give link to his Discord. He have tutorial on Discord, rotation in perspective. Very cool tutorial. Так. So yeah. I mean, like, Scott Robertson, it should be like by default, everybody of course should know. You just must have Scott Robertson book on your shelf. So I even forced up to mention it all the time. Just must have it. That's it. And for this one, yeah, I recommend to go watch Cranes on Gumroad. But this is like, it might be because it's so rare topic, just cranes might be too hard for you. So that's why also you're doing both. You study from my video, you watch cranes, this like you have doc file on the Gumroad, and this will give you faster idea. So let's say I have this time box here. Let's make it more complicated. So I don't use 0 angles this time, just to make it more complex example. Так, and here will be this. So I rotate it from here to here. Half, 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 half. So you see, just repeat all this construction stuff. So I can draw it so fast because I just freaking draw it 100 times. Like, I don't know already how many times, more than 100. So now let's like transfer these angles to here. Так, so we have 45 and this 22 and a half. 22 and a half here. Let's go like this. Here is 45, 22. So this one, 22 and a half here. And you see already it begins. This parallel lines, right? It's like its own axis, right? So I can subdivide it. I can draw as much parallel lines as I want, like 100,000 million. So, and this is like with this perspective grids, right? I can just like establish it to make it convincing, because this how for us, for observer, it looks like when it's like in your picture, it's exist as a perspective grid, it looks very convincing because it's like harmonized with the space. It doesn't look like broken. So at least have in your head, like try to see this line, not just one line, but as array of lines, like whole this axis system here, right? And also, yeah, here also like it's because like I show also in the beginning, this line is kind of going not only here, but it's also goes through. It have also on this point, right? So it's make it easier. So I can just draw it long, drop it all across my picture plan. So now I have this one line, and then I drop second line, and I will establish convergence, like how much strong convergence it will be here. Let's say like this. So I have two lines for this axis, and I can drop more. Let's say like this, like this, like this. Let's say it's just about this kind of this part of a box, right? Так, say it will be same with this one. Let's make it perspective grid. Even it's like totally random, like I doesn't calculate it at all, just kind of eyeballing. So this kind of method, how you can draw something like raw and quick, like Daniel Warren Johnson, for example, when you just don't want to construct all this, you can fake like it's properly drawn. Так. And so here we have 45. So this is my 45, and here 22 and a half. And this one. Five, 22. So, okay, here again it's tricky. So we have this line here, right? I can just make this 2/4 of circle to show how this length transfer into perspective kind of. So it's like here. So then that, and we'll make third dimension according to this ellipse. This minor axis will be third dimension. kind of here. Then again, like it's already exist all these grids I use, so and follow them. So and then like what I most of time do is just kind of like, you know, I see like I have some box, right? And then I will have in mind like kind of some this measure system, and I say where I want to rotate it. Just like where here I'm not sure what happened with this line, right? I can do perspective grid. So these lines, they already give me pretty clear idea like how this axis will behave in this area, right? I just can continue kind of like this, and I say, okay, so it will be kind of this same. If I want, I can do grid for any of these lines. So let's say, again, you see how I explained previously, like if we have this angle here, right? Just do same kind of amount on the other side for this one. So it should be like 90-degree. Так, wait a second. Так, if it was here. No, it should be, yeah, same ratio for this one. It will be about here. Yeah, so let's go for kind of this. So this one, and I say make created here. So this kind of like most annoying case when this line almost align with this line. But anyway, and you can like multiply and play around with these boxes. So let's say we have this box here, right? Let's like kind of like make same box, rotate it in this direction here on this surface. Так. Will be and let's say here. So you see, I just drop this measurement system. I can be like 2/4 or 3/4, because this gives me this 45 angle or 22.5. So I don't need to remember more than like 90 degree. I just constantly like telling myself it's 22 or 30 or 45. So it's like basically it's like quarters all the time. So let's say let's do 22 here. 2 again, like it's looking great. I mean, like where everybody we read this in a Scott Robertson book. It's just like maybe I don't remember. Like, is he mentioned this angles? Let me. I will grab this book right now. Wait a book. Uh-huh. Rotating. Yeah. So you see how Scott Robertson. What's this? Filters. Yeah, anyway, you see, like Scott Robertson shows this stuff. Um, in his book, and he show it here, like uh, you have in this like rotation system. Just he doesn't show angles, and like I say, for me it was like very hard to approach it with this ellipses. You see, because like you need like every time use this like ellipse set, okay, this thing, you know. And so this is why I was kind of trying a different way, and I find eventually that is best is is more is more about right angle or square. It's more about square than about a proper ellipse. So with this square, you don't need to draw ellipse properly. You just need kind of this elliptical circular thing to make your proportions convincingly correct. But what is more important is these angles, which is more relate to structure of a square, of this like right angle. So yeah. So homework for this video. First homework. It's draw 10 homework. High school assignment, right? Homework anyways. Homework. 10 uh, line rotation. Let's Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So it's like even like some often it's just like even quarter of a square instead of whole circle. So draw 10 uh, measure system uh, in a perspective, like I showed before, right? Like how I build all the time. So 10 these squares in perspective with all this subdivision practice to draw all these steps like I show in the beginning to build all these angles and circle. Then 10 times draw a line in a perspective. So you draw this thing like in a different angles, like I show, like a draw, just drop it any different way. You can use a horizon line with vanishing points or use draw in a 3-point perspective and 2-point perspective. Just draw it different way and then it's the first 10, second 10 you draw rotating line on this thing. So then 10 it's a rotating line in two two simultaneous rotations. So when it's not only rotated on one surface, but it's also rotated into a certain dimension. And then draw 10 squares, 10 squares in perspective. Again, we see it's like we again using this measure system. And then 10 times when it's boxes. So it should be like this. And then you add third dimension. And you add this third dimension using so you no anyway when you draw these boxes you using this principle of building perspective grids, which is just make even when you do it wrong, it will look correct. It will look properly. Так. So this is your homework. Yeah. So and then will be a second part of a video where I will talk about how to rotate people in perspective and like not just people but rotate like body parts, rotate arms, rotate legs, rotate torso, because it's use same principle. So and now already try to imagine how much it will be like next level complexity to rotate rotate arm according to body, because we will need like imagine this is like a body, right, and then it's arm relative to body. Rotate finger relative to wrist, relative to arm, rotate your head. So trust me, it will be like super easier if you will get confident with this thing. So it's always trick like when you just fight your naughty children in yourself, like which want to, like, oh, I want everything to be fast and immediate result, right? No, you trick your children. Tell your children it's a game. Tell your children this is like this puzzle game, like this stupid mobile game when you just kill in time. Here, look, it's so fun. You need to connect points. It's amazing. It's like, woohoo, it's so funny. He's like, yeah, I'm so happy. I control, like, oh, look, whoa, this line go here, this line go here. Oh my god, it's amazing. Like, whoa. Just be kind of clever, right? And then you will get this excitement, like when you want to solve it. It will be like, why this guy, like he's a average human like anybody else, this Gene Bond, like, yeah, he's a legend, he's epic, he's the best art teacher in the universe, like humbly speaking, kind of, right? But he's the same, like he's like a Flash Gordon. He's just a mortal human from planet Earth. Right? So if he can do this, then I can do it too. It can be easy for me. It can no. I'm speaking like your voice, right? Like your voice, like this, like Schwarzenegger, Schwarzenegger voice. Like your inner, yeah, you're like, okay, inner parent is like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Kindergarten. Remember when he was like kindergarten cop, right? So it's like, it's like, tell to her children, shut up, shut up. Yeah, like this. Так. Just like I say, yeah, you look at me, look myself, this guy, he never know before how I never know how to draw before. Never. And I crack it, and it's like I can do it much faster, I can do it much better. Really. And here I explain you what I should know before. So it's like I talking to myself. If somebody tell me this stuff before, I will learn like super faster, just like uh, save like decade on the learning perspective. So and this you will learn super faster if you will listen. This my recommendations right now. Well, listen to me. If you don't listen to me, listen to my cat. Meow. Cat. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. No, cat.